Hi everybody and welcome back to my modeling channel. So today we're gonna do an old model that I found in my stash. It's a Tupolev 154M on scale 144 made by Welsch Model. So I purchased this kit maybe 20 years ago or 15 years ago, and so as Zvezda was far before Zvezda released that Tupolev 154, and it was in my stash until now. So let's open a box and see what we have inside. So initially we're gonna start with the instruction sheet, which is quite basic, as you can see. You got an A3 format with the dimension of the Tupolev, and that's about it. Decals are made by air decal for the 154M of Syrian Air. So no need to talk about those decals, they are quite nice, nothing to talk about. F decal is a standard in the industry and they are doing very beautiful decals. So that's what we have, but as you are watching the video you already know which livery I decided to do. So no need to extend too much on that topic. So now we're gonna move on to the kit itself. The fuselage, very simple, quite basic, vacuum form for the 154. So the main difference between the A and the M, I think, are the number 2 engines. The engines are different, so there are some difference, but I can't recall which one is which one. I know that on number 1 and number 3 is equipped with reversers on the M model, but they don't have that the same thrust reverser in the same engine for the A, which I did also, but a long time ago as well. So now we're gonna move. So after that, so we're gonna, as you know, and some of you saw my vacuum form models already. So we're gonna cut this out, reduce it to the proper thickness, and then we're gonna close everything up. And then let's move on to the resin parts. So the resin parts are quite nice. So we have the wings, left and right wings in one part per wings, and we have very fine engravement, which are actually really nice. It's composed the wing fairing, the undercarriage, the wheel bay, and but it's really a nice mold. I have to say I will have to add some fences on the upper side. Normally there is 1 or 2 fences that goes on the 154. So that's what I will have to do, but that's not a big issue, as you know me. And then that's the tail cone, I would say, or the tail cone. Gonna have to do a little bit of work on that. We have both stabilizer that we're gonna fit over here. That's gonna be not too difficult, I believe. Now we have both our engines, so the fans are part of the first part. Now, as you can see, the exhausts are full, so depending on which side we're gonna look, maybe I'll start make some holes over here and try to carve something in the resin. And then you have the air intake for both sides, as you can see, and there is a little part basically was gonna allow us to align that engine cowl, basically, or the cowling on the model itself. Then of course there might be a little bit of work to try to carve it at the correct size or the correct shape. Same for the other engine. So it's quite nice, a little kit. Gonna be a little bit more work than on the plastic one, of course, but I'm sure we're gonna get almost to the same type of result. Then we're coming up to some clear part, white metal parts. The main landing gear, as we can see, 2 of those. The nose landing gear with the nose strut. all those little wheels. The number 2 exhaust pipe and the number 2 cowling basically are here and there. Yeah, might be a little bit of extra work. It's not as nice as the plastic ones, but still I think we have a pretty decent kit over here, and we should be able to get some nice and decent result. So enough of talking and let's start building. So we will start our build by preparing our parts. So that's gonna take a little bit of time. So I'm gonna take initially a rescribing tool and contour all the silhouette of the fuselage, as you can see, and then we're gonna be able to remove them, but that takes quite a little time, but it's not too complicated. So basically you really have to rescribe until you go through the plastic sheet, and then we press it out with a little bit of a plastic fatigue, and then we're able to detach those parts from the plastic sheet. Then the next step will be to get everything at the shape, but that's gonna be a little bit later on. After this, I will also prepare the wings, wire in resins. So basically there are some remain from the mold, and I have to cut those parts with a razor blade saw, and that's gonna be the next part. We're gonna remove all that extra resin, and then of course we'll be able to move on. So what you can see now is I'm just using a scalpel blade, and I'm removing that extra plastic. That's basically the thickness of the plastic that we have, and otherwise the fuselage is going to be about 1 millimeter per side. It's going to be about 2 millimeters extra thickness, so we have to remove all that extra plastic. So I do the highest part with a razor blade saw, and then we're gonna be able to continue that, but what I will do is I will use also some sandpaper, but that's the first part. We're trying to remove really the biggest part, and when we remove all that extra plastic, then we'll be able to move on to get the correct thickness and the correct shape with some sandpaper. So the next step, with a little bit of water on a sandpaper sheet, I'm using a 6 or 400 grit initially. We're gonna basically get our fuselage to the proper thickness, and basically we want something as well very smooth, because the razor blade saw is gonna be not going to be very nice. It's not really an even surface, so at least with the sandpaper we can get a correct surface and the proper thickness. And then the next step after that, I will take some plastic from that from the sheet, the initial sheet that I use, and we're gonna glue it inside the fuselage, and that will be used as a reference guide to put our fuselage half together. So after putting all those cylinders, we're gonna add some modeling paste, and I'm gonna put that on the nose, and we'll use that as ballast, and that will allow our aircraft to sit on its nose wheel instead of sitting on its tail. So after that, of course, we're checking the alignment of all the parts, and that's going to give us some rigidity. Otherwise, sometimes the fuselage can crack. So that's a good thing as well on those vacuum kits, that to have that inside structure that's help you to get more rigidity. So now we're gonna glue these two half together, and as you can see, sometimes it's not that regular. So what I'm doing, I'm using as well some adhesive tape to keep the fuselage really close to together. And now we're gonna close all those gaps, and we're gonna add some white putty, which will blend basically easily better on that upper fuselage. So that's what we're going to do. So I have to say that most of the time those models, those vacuum kits have a little bit more putty than the regular plastic ones, but anyway, with a bit of time and patience, we can always get to a very decent result. So of course, when this is dry, we're going to remove all the extra putty and to have a very nice and smooth surface, and that's going to take a little bit of our time. So we now add our wings to the fuselage. For this, I'm gonna use some super glue, resin or epoxy super glue, and then we're gonna attach our wings to that fuselage. It's gonna require a little bit of extra glue, but that's gonna work pretty well. And as you can see, there will be a pretty big gap between those two parts later on. So we're gonna have to use quite a bit of putty, and I straight apply it, a bit of pressure out of the tube, and that allow me really to force that on that huge gap. I'm gonna fill this in, and then we're gonna add as well all around the wings and the junction between the wings and the fuselage. So the putley as well sometimes retract when it's dry, and that's what I could see on those huge parts on the huge jet gap. So I had to add another layer. So this time I opted for another color just to make sure I don't have any air bubble inside, and it's really full with putty. So I had to do another layer, and then of course we're gonna have to let it dry, and then we're gonna be able to remove all that extra putty with some sandpaper later on. The next step is to remove all the plastic on the air intake of the engine number 2, and also on the exhaust. So for this I will drill a couple of holes, use my razor blade saw and a little bit of sandpaper and a file to get a proper intake. Then there is basically they have a white metal part for the intake, the engine lip, and as well the exhaust that we're going to use, and we're going to be able to fix them as well on that part. So we will now prepare our parts. So we're gonna prepare our engines, and so initially we're gonna remove of course a little of extra resin coming from the mold, and that's for this those engines. So the engines are in two parts, as you can see, and then we're gonna prepare as well the tail, the horizontal stabilizer in three parts. And of course when you glue resin together, the best way is to use some epoxy glue or some super glue. That's the best way that can that's the only way, I would say. The regular plastic glue or the regular model glue doesn't work, doesn't create any bond. So I will do that, as you can see, and then I'll add as well a little bit of extra super glue in those holes or in those gaps, as sometimes it's not enough basically to keep everything bonded together. And of course once we finished, we're gonna remove all those gaps with some extra putty. Now that all the gaps are removed, we're gonna fix the horizontal stabilizer on the tail, and for this I'm using always super glue. And so it's a little bit of fiddling to make sure we have the correct dihedra, and of course when this is done we're going to be able to add our engines. The engines will be a little bit more challenging to make sure to be sure that we are on the correct angle and the correct position. Sometimes that requires a little bit of extra work, but nothing too complicated, I have to say. Of course, now it's time to close all those gaps. We're gonna close a couple of gaps with that putty, and that's for the horizontal stabilizer and the engine mount. Now that we remove all the gaps, we're gonna move to the paint booth, and we're gonna start initially to paint the anti-ice and the leading edge of the stabilizer. That's the main thing we're gonna do at that stage, using some metallic gray, some silver color from Tamiya, with the acrylic paint. And I have to say, I'm not only using acrylic paint, it's much more easy as well and convenient to clean up the airbrush later on as well, and I'm quite happy of the result. The next step is to paint the wings. The wings will be painted in a gray color, so we're gonna use a mix of white and light gray, and we're gonna do both wings, and then we're gonna be able to move on to the rest of the fuselage. It's gonna have an overall glossy white color. So after letting it dry for about a week, I decided that it was time to paint basically the rest, that dark blue band. And for this, normally when I'm using some glossy color or shiny color, the curing time is about a week. Otherwise, when I do all the masking tape, the problem I have is the adhesive band will leave some mark on the paint. So that's one thing I learned through the time. You have to be really patient before painting your models. So for this, I'm gonna use again another dark blue, royal blue from Tamiya, and that's going to be on the overall of the tail, the engine, the horizontal stabilizer, and the part of the belly of the aircraft. And we're gonna now start the decaling process, and for those I use BOA decals. I've been using them quite a lot in the past, and I've been very happy with as well. Sometimes they have some special liveries, so it can be really nice. Sometimes they require a little bit of extra work. They're a little bit more difficult to apply than some others. Require a lot of water to be able to slide them on the correct position, but not too complicated. But they're a little bit harder to use than some other brands. Beside that, they are really thin, they are really good. I really like the colors, especially for the cockpit window, and been pretty happy and pretty good satisfaction overall. So we're gonna do all those left side, right side. Of course, we're gonna put the company logo on the tail. And I have to say, the great thing about those decals is when you have white decals, they go perfectly, even if you have a darker surface. That really work well. So that's one of the highlight, I would say, of those decals. A little bit of extra work, but the result is fantastic. So we're now gonna start to work on the undercarriage. So I will use a light gray color for the base of the landing gear, and I will use later on, so I will put an overall color, and then we're gonna use cockpit green color for the rims of the tires. And we're just going to do them all one by one, and then we'll be able to paint the tires in a matte black color, And then of course we're gonna go after that to the final assembly of that undercarriage main landing gear and nose landing gear. So while the paint is drying, now we're gonna paint basically the number 2 exhaust, and then we're gonna be able to move back to our landing gear, and we're gonna use some super glue before doing the assembly. So we will now do a little bit of fitting before we glue the undercarriage. I just want to make sure that how it goes on both sides. And as you can see, sometimes at some point some wheels are getting off, so I had to re-glue them. That was one of the things that happened briefly, but better now than later, and then I lose them. So we're gonna refix those wheels, and then we're gonna be able to fix the main landing gear with super glue. Now I'm gonna move to the front, to the nose landing gear, and I realized that the part was a little bit too wide. So I tried to bend the white metal, it didn't work. So what I realized is there were some strut in the middle, so I had to cut it off, reduce the size, and then use and get the gear back together, just to reduce the width of that nose landing gear. It worked pretty easily, actually. A little bit of time and patience, but that was the little surprise on that part of the model. And then of course nothing too complicated. We'll be able to fix the situation easily. Then we're gonna put the strut as well, and then the landing gear is now on the plane. So the next step will be to add as well the gear doors, and for this you need to add as well some I cut some plastic cards, and then I made it to the correct size, and then we fix it directly on the landing gear. Same for the nose, who will be as well painted in a dark blue later on. And the last couple of decals for the wings and the structure. So basically now we're going to put the escape route for the emergency exit, and then we're going to add a couple of more panels, and then the plane will be ready for display. this is the final result of that Tupolev 154M from Welsch Model. I hope you enjoyed that build with me. If you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I will see you soon for another kit review and build video. Thank you for watching.